All right. All right, we're recording. I'll just move this over here. Okay, hold on a sec. There we go. Okay. Hi, Sinclair. How you going? I'm here with this guy you don't know called Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Nate. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. A little bit more about Tim in a moment. So, look, a lot of the church doesn't know, and Tim's here because he's a big part of this. But about a year and a bit ago, our church got on board, signed on to this thing called building a discipleship culture. And part of what's that involved in this lovely man is this lovely man Tim helping us a lot in that. And so, look, what the nuts and the bolts of it before we work backwards to where this came from and what it's about is that these are a group of people who believe that God has led them into some really effective ways to make disciples in the modern context of Australia, and that they've seen fruit in their own lives, in their own church. And they want to help other churches essentially with what God has showed them. And what that looks like is there's a small group of people in our church, a little cluster that Tim coaches, and I'm a part of that, and Esther is a part of that, along with a few others. There's this fortnightly Zoom coaching session and a bunch of intensives as well to go along with that. And these guys have been just helping us rethink back to basics, nothing new, as Tim will tell you, but just get us to process, hey, how are we making disciples? What does that practically look like? And you guys have felt the effects of this as you've seen the personal journey, even of myself. You guys know, in my own personal life, I've had bigger missional impact than I've had in a long time, than I've actually had ever. I feel so much more equipped to engage pre-Christian people in my world. And it's also had an impact on those in the group, and you'll hear a bit about that in a moment. And also some of the language you've heard me include in the church culture, and that's become more common, the whole idea of finding people of peace, really spruiking that idea of reading the Bible with someone in a more slow, deliberate way. This is all coming out of this process that we've been involved with Tim. And so there has been real impact in my life and in the life of the church. But I suppose story is important, Tim. And so where did this come from? This thing that you're doing with us, that you do for free, and that's the other thing I want to point out, that it's an investment in us that hasn't cost us a cent, but is worth thousands of dollars of backing from philanthropists out there. What is this about? Where did this come from? Can you give us a picture?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Nate. Hey, Sinclair. We've been on quite the journey for the best part of the last decade down here. So I'm from Crossway Baptist Church down in eastern Melbourne, and we had quite the leaders meeting about 10 years ago, and basically we realized that we were doing a lot of program stuff, lots of good stuff, but when it came to actually making disciples, we didn't have clarity around it. We certainly weren't having impact as far as seeing people disciple towards faith or on that journey towards Christ in really significant ways, irregular ways. And so we really have been on a journey of where we've really learnt to look back at the way Jesus made disciples, and what does that look like? What does that look like in Melbourne, in and around in community clubs, in sporting clubs, in schools, in universities? What does that look like to actually make disciples who, like Jesus did? And we feel like we've made some significant learns, none of which is rocket science, and all of which has come out, I think, of the life and practice of Jesus. But we feel like we've had enough progress that we felt the challenge to, can we actually invest in other churches around Australia? Because Australia feels like a really barren wasteland sometimes when it comes to sharing our faith or stewarding the gospel. Lots of people feel disqualified or not feeling quite like what they know, knowing what to do. And so we feel like we've made some progress. So we feel the challenge, but also the opportunity to invest in churches that are saying, yeah, we'd love to partner with you. And so that's really where we've connected with you and Esther and the guys in just partnering together. And what does it mean to make disciples in Sydney in 2020? But yeah, it's come out of a lot of learnings, a lot of mistakes, and but also a lot of learning straight out of the life of Jesus.
Mm. Oh, and then just in terms of just to give you guys a picture of this process. So how many churches are currently being coached in this process?
About 75 churches at the moment are being coached in the process.
And what are some on the spot in terms of some proof of concept, some encouragement that this is the direction God has wanted you to go in this investing? Can you just share a couple of stories of some fruit you've seen out there?
Absolutely. So, someone who's the business manager of a church actually over in Perth, totally felt like she was like, what do I do about sharing my faith? I want to do it. I can't do it. I've tried a few times and no one's interested. And so we have been on a journey together. She's part of a team of a church in Perth. And I tell you, she learning principles like who's the person of peace, where's God already at work, don't look to just pounce and get someone to make a decision necessarily straight away. Like, what does it mean to disciple them towards faith? Must have been 7 months ago. She asks her friend Lindsay if she can to read the Bible with her. She says, and Lindsay, who I thought was a person of peace, like, listen and serve. Maybe you use that language with the guy's name. She goes, and I said, so I asked her, and she said, you'll never believe what she said, Tim. I said, what'd she say? She goes, she said yes. Anyway, then comes lockdown, and the ups and downs of lockdown, like in Perth has gone up and down. So she says every 2 weeks, she reads the Bible with Lindsay, and they're working their way through the Gospel of Mark, and they've done it over Zoom, they've done it walking down a path, and they've done it over coffee, depending on what the restrictions are of any time. But I'm watching, when someone tells a story and their eyes are dancing, she tells this story like her eyes are dancing, and she can almost barely believe that she's talking about sharing her faith. She's talking about discipling someone who doesn't know Jesus towards faith, and her eyes she goes, I never thought I'd be able to do it. And so that's one story there. Or I think of a church out in that's about 4 hours outside Brisbane, that Baptist church. And one of the guys there is again just this idea of like our country town like just feels like there's no progress at all. And again, looked for a person of peace, looked for very simple signs that God was at work with someone that they knew, and they asked them to read the Bible with them. And it's just people who just thought that it was all, amazing stories happening in the developing world or in the Bible, and just watching them actually have opportunity to participate in this way. And so that's a couple of stories just off the top of my head.
That's brilliant. Thanks for sharing. Well, probably the what the church would want to hear is a bit more from the people that have been involved in the process of coaching with you and me. So we'll cut to a video just hearing their testimony in a sec. Tim's actually our guest speaker today in a pre-recorded sense, in a message he's already given, but he will be there and you will look at him. Tim, what are you going to be talking to us about?
I'm going to be just talking about the idea that everybody has a role in participating in this journey, that it doesn't take a particular kind of person, a particular kind of temperament. It's not just for the gifted extroverts who can, talk the hind leg off a chair. It's not just, who are awesome, by the way, but it's not just for them. Everybody gets to find their role. So how do we find our voice? How do we find our place in this journey of discipleship? So for everyone.
We look forward to that. Well, can I just pray for you for that message you've already given us, and also just pray for you and your family, because guys, Tim is in the Shadowlands. Tim is in Melbourne. Tim is in that dark place where Simba is not to tread. You must never go there. And so him and his family are trudging on. Tim's part of a big church that are unlikely to be able to meet for the next 200 years.
Yes, exactly right.
He's working out some tough stuff. So we're just going to pray for you in your context and for your message. Is that all right?
Thanks. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Dear Lord, I just thank you for the little bit Tim's been able to share about what him and the other guys in BDC have been investing in our church, building a discipleship culture. We thank you that you are always at work, and we know in this process you've been at work. Thank you for their investment in us. I just pray a blessing over his family as they negotiate this strange COVID-19 world, a blessing over their church, a blessing over the church in Melbourne. Just help them stay close to you, lean into you at all times, and just encourage them at this time. We just thank you as he shares from your word this morning. We just pray, Lord, that you would just give us ears to hear, hearts that are open to absorb whatever truth you want us to absorb, and just help us have real handles on what it would look like for us to live that out today. And we just thank you for his investment in us this morning as well. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. See you in a couple minutes, Tim.
Awesome.
And I'll press stop there. I'm trying to press stop. It's not letting me. I'll edit that out. I don't know what's going on. I'm stuck recording you.